Manager with Pennsylvania State Employees Credit Union in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Let's hear it for Nate.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nate Muniz, and my project is called the Keystone Network. And we don't have our slide yet, but there we go. What the founders of the credit union movement understood was the power of pooling the resources of many into one. And in a sense, that's what I'm trying to do with the Keystone Network, trying to harness the member loyalty we've earned and translate it into political and grassroots legislative action. I believe using the tactic of employing members for that purpose is something that's been overlooked for far too long in the credit union industry. And I also believe that using this tactic is absolutely essential to ensure the continued vitality and prosperity of the credit union system. But what is the network? The network itself is actually really simple. It's just a group of members that have said they want to learn more about legislative and political issues that affect their credit union. Part of that network is a subgroup, and they're called the Keystone Contacts. And these are members that don't just want more information, they actually want to get their hands dirty, so to speak. They want to play an active role in advocacy efforts on behalf of the credit union. This is an example of what the members receive as far as information. It's a bi-monthly newsletter. We email it to them, and it covers the pertinent legislative and political issues of the day. But why the network? Because frankly, the stakes are just too high. Credit unions are facing all kinds of challenges, whether they be assessments or growing lending or growing membership. And when you think of the legislative issues that we have to face, interchange, supplemental capital, member business lending, and the biggie, taxation, these are all issues that would have a profound effect on the industry. So I started to think to myself, what's the best way that we can combat these challenges when speaking about the legislative area? And the answer came to me, we have to increase our political and legislative influence. So I took that a step further. I said, well, what are the major challenges, both from an industry level and from my own credit union's individual level, that we're facing in order to do that? Well, from the industry level, the main challenge is we just can't compete in the money race. Don't get me wrong, CUNA does a great job. We're in the top 20 as far as PACs go. But if you take a look at this graphic in spending, over the past 3 campaign seasons, we've been outspent over 5-1 in campaign contributions from banks over credit unions. In lobbying expenses, we've been outspent almost 7-1. That's a huge gap to overcome. But from my individual credit union's perspective, what is our main challenge? We're a branchless credit union. It means we don't have branches in the legislators' districts. So if a legislator doesn't know who we are, because we don't have a branch on every corner, that's tough. If they do know who they are, most of the time they may not even have an idea of what our footprint is because, again, they don't see that branch. So I started to think, where's the one thing that both the industry can do and we can do to kind of bridge this gap a little bit? And it hit me. It's the members. Could you imagine if we could get just 1% of those 92 million members nationwide to be advocates? That's almost 1 million new credit union advocates that are pushing our legislative agenda. But again, why members? What makes the members important? Our members are their constituents. There are more members than employees. They're in their community, and they're voters. And the more I thought about it, the more this really made sense. When we're doing advocacy efforts, what are we doing? We're speaking on behalf of our members. I thought to myself, why not ask the members if they want to speak on their own behalf and on behalf of their credit union? So we went about creating the network. We put out a general call to the membership. I'll be honest, the results of this were not up to what I had hoped they would be. We brought in 30 members into the network. But we also wanted to be a little bit more strategic, so we did a data-driven survey. And we worked with CUNA. We gathered information from them about members that had participated in past email campaigns, and we targeted them, and we sent them a survey. And I'm not going to read through all these points here, but the survey results were very positive. They actually exceeded my expectations. The one point that I want to highlight on this is the last bullet point. Of the respondents to the survey, the average PFI score was 5.08, which is extremely high. That shows that, one, they love us, and two, they use us a heck of a lot. But the survey questions themselves weren't getting what I wanted to know, and that was, why did they send this? Was there something more than just, was there an emotional attachment that these members had with us? So we asked them some open-ended questions as well. And we basically asked them that. And we took all the answers and we put them into this word cloud here. And there are some really interesting words here. There's feel, there's trust, there's service. What these members told me in their responses was they understand the credit union philosophy. They buy into it, and they want to do everything that they can to help us be successful. So from the survey, the results, we had 200 members in our network. Out of those members, I recruited 7 Keystone contacts. Remember the hands dirty guys. 6 of those are in Pennsylvania. 1 of them is here in Florida. And they cover 4 distinct congressional districts. In Pennsylvania, that is. After we recruited them, I wanted to have face-to-face meetings with the contacts. And the purpose for that was to explain a little bit more what my vision was for the contacts, what I was looking for from them. And I have to tell you, and I don't know if you happen to see it on my video, the members were so thankful and so excited to be having more of a relationship with their credit union than just a transactional basis. They really felt like they were becoming a part of something. But that's where we are now, but we're not done. Our immediate next steps are this: to create a lobbying manual, which I actually have copies with me if anyone wants to see the draft. And the manual has meetings, do's and don'ts for meetings with elected officials, as well as issue briefs and talking points on the legislative issues of the day. We want to continue having more meetups. We're going to try and utilize as many electronic channels as we can, but I also want to keep that face-to-face component. Being a branchless financial institution, having that face-to-face contact with them, I think, is extra special. And it also actually gives me a chance to assess what some of the members in the Keystone Contact Group, what their strengths may be. And then, going back to the lobbying manual, that lobbying manual is supposed to serve as almost a training tool. We want to train our members to be able to accompany us to in-district meetings with their legislators. We want that member and that legislator to come out feeling good. And when that legislator leaves, we want them to think of that member as being PSECU, as the face of PSECU. The future, I'd like to create a recognition program for the Keystone Contacts. Any good grassroots program recognizes the efforts of its volunteers. They're engaged now, and we want them to remain engaged. The possibility of bringing members outside of the district and into Capitol Hill offices. That was the one thing that the members were most excited about when I mentioned the possibility. Addressing the state legislature. Pennsylvania has the largest full-time legislature in the country, so that's going to take some time to get coverage out of the network from our membership so that we can start building relationships with those legislators as well. Challenges, I think as credit unions, we understand that challenge, costs and resources, and growing the contacts. I mentioned Pennsylvania, but we still only have 4 congressional districts covered in Pennsylvania, and we have 18 total. So that's going to take some time as well. In conclusion, I just want to say I truly believe that the way for credit unions to ensure their continued vitality and prosperity is to increase their political and legislative influence. I also believe that the best way to do that is by utilizing their most important asset, and that's their members. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great job, Nate. Fantastic job.
Thank you.
Let's start with Dee Dee Myers this time.
Oh, thank you. Nate, when I read your blog and your first blog and your video, I thought, wow, what courage you have to do this project. And advocacy always comes from a place of courage, so thank you for stepping out.
Thank you.
A lot of questions, but I'm going to ask you one. You talked about challenges, cost and resources and growing the context. What's one of your personal challenges in this work? Like, what's the thing that you might stub your toe on here?
Stamina.
Stamina, thank you.
And actually, I think it's an issue that we as credit unions have as a challenge in general. Anyone that's familiar with the legislative arena knows that it's a marathon and not a sprint. And you have to keep at it. You have to keep recruiting the contacts. You have to keep informing them. You have to keep making sure that they're also engaged. And it's any grassroots practitioner, it's a challenge that they all have.
Well, thank you for being so authentic. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Patrick, do you have a question for Nate?
Thanks, Nate. As a league president, you're speaking to the choir on this one. So, so being actively engaged politically is something that we speak about quite often with our member credit unions. One of the hurdles I know that we face is credit unions that are afraid to engage their members in that way. We get a lot of pushback from leadership at the top of a credit union. Could you explain a little bit about maybe some of the challenges you had when you first approached your superiors about this, and how you were able to overcome that for them to be willing to take it to the next level of political engagement with your membership?
Sure, absolutely. This project, while it really got kicked off during this time, has been my project since I got to the credit union about 8 years ago. It's taken a lot of time. It's funny that you mentioned about people being afraid of the members. It was my theory that was an unfounded fear, so that's why we did the survey and did the open-ended question, because the open-ended question allowed us to get some insight into what the member knew about credit unions. Certainly you had people that just hated banks and wanted to bash the banks, but we found that the members were intelligent, they were engaged, and they understood what we were asking them to do. And if there's one message that I want to take, would spread out to everyone, is don't be afraid of your members, they're your best advocates.
And Desreen.
Nate, your network, Keystone Network, is out of the box and very visionary, and I applaud you.
Thank you.
Do you believe that your credit union membership alone can work this legislature network that you're trying to achieve?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you plan to involve other credit unions and even the league as
I'd actually love to involve other credit unions. That's why I brought the lobbying manual along with me. I have a couple of drafts. It's not finished, but if anyone would like to see kind of what we did. I truly, as a person, believe in the cooperative movement, and I'm always open to anyone to share what we've done. I'd be willing to share the survey. I think actually in the interchange campaigns in 2010 and 2011, we actively did share our materials, meaning the emails we sent to members. We created a website that other credit unions could send them to. We try to use social media and get the word out that way. We actually also, with the big hike of the hill that they had done, we offered to pay for buses for other credit unions in our area, in central Pennsylvania, to ride down on the bus with us. We got the American Legion Hall, we rented it so that we could get all the Pennsylvania people together and have the legislators come to us so they could get a visual representation of this is how many people care about this issue. So yeah, I'm more than happy to share and want other credit unions to get more involved.
Thank you. Well done, Nate.
Thank you.
Well, fantastic. Let's hear it for Nate.